Martin Munene is standing by. We understand that there's supposed to be a public participation session with the Water Ministry. First of all, to look into, inquire why there's low flow of water in rivers from key water catchment areas, and also to look at the effects of low water flow in those rivers, and also investigate the activities of water obstructors on reduction of the water that is flowing in the rivers. And Munene, first of all, this appears like quite an academic discussion in as far as the Ministry of Water trying to get participation from the public on why there is low water flowing in the rivers. How much do you think this discussion, this public participation is going to yield in as far as benefiting the public and accessing water is concerned?
All right, very good morning to you, Sam Gituko, in studio. Of course, we're coming to you from Wambogo Farm in Nyeri County. And like you said, there is an event that is happening here. Members of the public are getting an opportunity to be able to present their views on matters water. A brief background on what has been happening, Sam, is that, of course, I hope you remember that there was a time that the Ministry of Water actually, through the Minister of the CS, Simon Chelugui, actually banned water abstractions from every single river in central region. And of course, this had a ripple effect. A lot of people coming out and complaining that their lives had been affected negatively. Some, of course, you know, Mount Kenya region is an area whereby a lot of people are farmers, and a lot of this farming depends on rain and also irrigation that is done with water that comes from rivers. And now, once that ban was effected, a lot of people went and protested, saying that their livelihoods had been cut. But also before that, there were also complaints from members of the society, or members of the community rather, saying that there is not enough water in rivers, and so people living downstream were not getting enough water. That also led to another ban, which was the ban on logging, affecting this region and also across the country. And so two bans that actually were aimed at, among other things, ensure that water flows in rivers is restored to the levels that they're supposed to be. Now, what is happening is that after those bans, there was a lot of public outcry, and of course now there was need for the engagement of members of the community to see, just basically to seek their opinion on the matter when it comes to the amount of water in rivers. And like you said, it's an interesting discussion, considering that, you know, we are talking about the ordinary mwananchi and maybe what they think needs to be done. What happened is that once the ban on water obstructions was effected, we actually did see water levels in rivers go up. But now what happened is that people who are depending on water from rivers to irrigate their farms, of course, were complaining. And some of these obstructions or water intakes in rivers had actually been there for years and years. Some of them actually were there way before the colonial times. And so communities had organized themselves and their lives around irrigating farms from water that came from rivers. Now, once that ban was actually effected, there was complaints from the people, also complaints from government officials, governors actually from Mount Kenya region, and there was need for this discussion to take place. And I must say, Sam, that this discussion is not only taking place in Nyeri today, it's taking place in Meru, and also it's taking also place in Iten. That is actually happening also today, because like you know, we've got more catchment areas, not just Nyeri County, we've got other counties, but Meru County happens to be in the Mount Kenya area. Now what is happening, Sam, is that people expect, or these officials expect, that people or members of the public will come and explain the effects of the water abstraction, you know, how their lives have been affected by the ban on water abstractions, and also just engage, just have an engagement on maybe the way forward, because like I said, truth is that the rivers are drying up rapidly, and a lot of rivers, for example, Sagana, Thego River in Nyeri County, have no water currently, because one of the reasons that has been attributed to this is water obstructions. But then, like I said earlier, there was the issue of logging, and so these two reasons have been cited as why the rivers are drying up. And so the discussion is ideally to find a way to, just a common ground between people who depend on rivers for their their livelihoods, and also ensuring that people also who are downstream have access to water, which is also a natural resource. I must say what is happening here, as you can see, these officials are just getting themselves ready, waiting for members of the public to come and participate. I have been reliably informed that this will not only involve members from the Ministry of Water, but also from our officials from the Ministry of the Environment, and also officials from the Ministry of Interior, who are also going to be helping in coordinating government efforts in ensuring that the voice of the people is heard, and whatever recommendations the people will make can be implemented. And once the government comes up with policy on exactly what to do, then these policies can be able to be implemented. So what is happening here, Sam, is that we're waiting for members of the public to come and we hear what they will have to say, and at the same time we're also eager to hear what the members of these government officials from these three ministries will also have to say. But the most important thing, Sam, here today being that the voice of the common mwananchi in Nyeri County, in this central region, will actually be heard in matters water. Like you know, water has been an issue in Murang'a County, in Nyeri County, in every county in this region, and therefore a very, very important debate. Sadly, Sam, this debate was supposed to, or this conversation was supposed to start at 9. It has not yet started. We do not yet see members of the public coming here, and we don't know whether they're going to show up or not. But we will be here, of course, to wait and see if they'll show up, and if they do, then what is it that they will be saying? Back to you, Sam.
Well, Munene, I just want to engage you briefly on some contextual realities in Nyeri County. And as you said, the members of the public are not yet there. Maybe they are busy going on with their activities because that's an agricultural county. But from the statistics that we have, it indicates that 12% of the population, that is nationally, they access piped water. In the urban areas, it's better at 43.2%. But essentially, would say that there's still challenges that people face in the rural areas in accessing piped water. And then talking about the time it takes for Kenyans to access water, we have statistics that show that 32% of Kenyans, that is 32 in every 100 people in the country, they travel for more than 30 minutes to access water. I don't know how the situation is in Nyeri County. For instance, if you're talking about Nyeri town, how reliable is the water services in that region? And when you go to the rural counties or rural constituencies, do they have piped water? What is the struggle like in accessing water for drinking and eventually water for agriculture?
All right, an excellent question, Sam. When we come to Nyeri Town is actually one of the towns that people are lucky to have water supply almost constantly. I must say that the company that runs water in Nyeri County, that is Nyawasco, has often been ranked as one of the best water companies in the country, and therefore Nyeri Town, the residents of Nyeri Town do have water. But Nyeri is only one town. Like you say, there are six constituencies in Nyeri County rather, and therefore people who live in the far-flung areas of Nyeri do not have access to that water because water is actually available to people living in towns. But the bulk of the population of Nyeri does not live in Nyeri Town. It lives in the villages, and a lot of people in Nyeri depend on water from rivers for agriculture. And like you said, a lot of people in Nyeri are farmers, and therefore their day-to-day lives are actually dictated by water because they need water to be able to farm. Now, I can say that comfortably, Nyeri residents in town have water, but people across the other constituencies do not have water. In fact, I must say that, for example, in the 2017 election, one of the factors or one of the key political agenda in actually determining who was elected, for example, in Madera constituency was water. In Kieni was water. The campaign promise was water in most of these areas, and not just domestic water, but also water for irrigation. So, Sam, what I can say is that this discussion is very, very important, because now one of the things that, or one of the contentions that actually was that some of the people who are actually using river water, they're using water from rivers for irrigation. They have domestic and irrigation, but some of the people who live downstream in the same county do not have access to water for domestic use from the same rivers. And so, of course, there was a push and pull, some saying that they want the rivers to flow so that they may have water for drinking, others saying no, they have a right to this water, not just to consume consume at home, but also to use for irrigation, because their lives depend on the irrigation for them to be able, to survive, because they're farmers. So the conversation around here is that Sam, who gets what in terms of the water resource that is available in this particular county. But I must say, people in Nyeri town, in other towns, basically in towns around Nyeri, have water, but people who are the majority of people who live in the villages do not have access to clean water, and they often depend on water from these rivers. In fact, one of the projects that actually is in an area called Kafaru, what the community has done is organize themselves into a group, and they've taken water from one river. So they abstract water from the river, then they put it in one large area, one water reservoir, as a tank, and then it's distributed to members of the community. And so once they are told, for example, they cannot take water from a river, then that means they will not have water even for domestic consumption. Back to you, Sam.